Okay, so here is a brief overview of the turrets between the Athlon Ares BTR and a Vortex Razor Gen 1, just so that you can kind of see or see a little bit in the feel of the shaking of the hand, and then also just the overall audible sound that you hear from the clicks. So here's the Razor. And here is the Ares BTR. So you can tell with this scope that either the detent is either too small or the spacing is just not far enough apart, but it just doesn't really have a lot of resistance, not very tactile at all. It does have an audible sound, but compared to one of the earlier model PSTs, there's far more resistance in between each click, and it's got more of a thunk to it than this little chirp. Now, with that said, the Athlon Ares does have noticeably better glass than the Vortex Viper PSC Gen 1. I haven't had a chance to look at the Gen 2, so I don't know how they're actually going to compare. But the Ares, I think these are going to have a street price. The 4.5 by 27 is going to have a street price of around $850. So, with the feature set that it has, the illumination, really nice reticle, and the magnification range, and the overall glass, it's a pretty decent scope within that price segment. It's not going to compete with something like a Razor Gen 1 or anything like that. I know a lot of people have been hoping for that, but I think it's definitely going to compete against the Burris XTR2 and perhaps the PST Gen 2. I'd like to kind of check it out before we can get rulings on it. But overall, not a bad scope. There are a few things that I would really like to see Athlon do as far as the revisions. As you can see, this is listed as the Midas BTR, so it's the same tube as the Midas, but this is the Ares, the first focal plane version. But you'll notice that on the elevation turret there are no half mil marks. This is something that I brought up to them. I think they're going to actually have that on the production models, and they really need it, because if you're trying to dial fast and you kind of go in between and you're trying to see where you're at, you start having to do a lot more counting than if you would just have a raised up mark right there to make it a lot easier on you. Something else I wish they would have is on the elevation, even though we know up and down, it's nice to see a visual reference, especially if you have a newer shooter that's going to be utilizing your equipment. Just makes it a little bit easier. Something else that would be nice to see incorporated, even though it does have a zero stop, not everyone utilizes and sets those. It would be nice to see if there was a, since they can't really build in a rev indicator on this turret body, but actually go in and have a few lines right there just so that you can have at least some kind of inclination of where you are as far as on your up without having to perhaps crank it all the way down. That's a minute detail, something to quabble about, but overall it's not too bad. Just a few things that they need to update. One of the other things is they need to make some type of modification to the size of the set screws that they're using. These have to be some of the smallest set screws I've ever seen on any scope at any price point. I didn't have any issues and didn't actually strip the screw, but I definitely didn't go very tight on it because it just, when you see the size of the screws, it just left a very uneasy feeling. Being as how this is a demo model, I didn't want to do anything and take a chance of damaging or messing it up, but something that they need to work on.